And a quick review, absolute value equations. You've got to think that when you have an absolute value equation, you have two solutions. You have to have that in your mind at all times. Otherwise, you're going to miss one of the solutions. Okay, I picked a really hard one. Here's what you want to do. You first off want to isolate the absolute value. This is the best way to solve these, and I want to teach you the best way. Isolate the absolute value. All right, let's move the 6. Let's move the negative 3. All right? So we'll move the 6 by adding a negative 6. That gives me a negative 21 on the right. Then I have a negative 21 divided by a negative 3, and that's a 7. Agreed? And I forgot my n there. So you have the absolute value of 2n plus 1 equals 7. Okay, my absolute value is isolated. If you remember now, you have to come up with two equations. The first equation, you simply remove the absolute value and you solve. The way I like to teach it, the second one, replace the absolute value with a negative and solve. Okay? Now there's another way to do that, but I do this for inequalities, and you'll see that in the next lesson. Okay, let's solve these two equations. Add the 1 to both sides, the negative 1 to both sides, divide by 2. There's one solution, n equals 3. Distribute, negative 2n minus 1 equals 7. Negative 2n equals 8, right? And divide by negative 2. And so n equals negative 4. There's our second solution, right? You got to think two solutions. Okay, let me also remind you of this format. The absolute value of x minus the midpoint equals p, and p is the distance from the midpoint to an endpoint. This is the distance from the midpoint to an endpoint. What do you mean, Mr. Scarfi? Well, let me show you. All right. In this scenario here, the midpoint is halfway between these 2 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, there's 10, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this point is the midpoint. So if I want to write this equation, this is going to be a 1 because that's the value of the midpoint. And how far is it from a midpoint to either endpoint? It's 5, right? We just determined that. So the p is 5. So that's the equation of that absolute value. And look, I'm telling you, if you went and solved this, guess what you're going to get? All right, watch, right? 2/8 already isolated. So there's the first way. Put a negative in front and solve. So this is x equals 6. Negative x plus 1 equals 5. Add a negative 1 to both sides. Take care of the negative. X equal negative 4. Look at this. You see that? All right. I develop it fully in the complete lesson. But you should know this pattern. It'll really help you. All right? Absolute value equations.